This video is for the Viper 4 and validating that our GPS universal cables are connected, the settings are correct, and the Viper 4 is receiving a GPS signal. Prior to watching this video and going through these steps, make sure that you have performed the installation of the universal GPS harnesses for your particular GPS receiver. The receivers that are supported from Kinze are the John Deere Starfire receivers, the Case IH 362 and 372 receivers, as well as the Ag Leader 1500, 1600, or 6000 version receivers. These are the versions that the Viper 4 will support and recognize GPS signals from. We want to make sure that the Viper 4 is powered on, your associated display, which is running your receiver, is turned on. Make sure you're pulled out in the yard so you have a clear view of the sky so we get a correct signal. We can now perform our steps to validate that the Viper 4 does see a GPS signal. If a GPS receiver is found once the Viper 4 is powered on and is receiving the correct GPS messages, which again, those messages are set up specifically for your receiver, and those steps were covered in your specific GPS receiver setup, the GPS icon pictured on the page will be in green. If the Viper 4 icon is red instead of green, press the setup button. Once you press the setup page, you will need to scroll across and find the Serial Devices button. In order to scroll across, simply tap on the screen and swipe left to right. Once you press on the Serial Devices tab, a dialog box comes up with a list of the serial devices that the Viper 4 sees. If it has a list or mentions generic GPS, no further action is required right now. However, we will get into diagnostics in a moment. If there is no list of generic GPS, select the search button in the lower right-hand corner of your serial devices page. A dialog box comes up and says, "Are you sure you want to reset and redetect all serial devices?" What this procedure does is goes out and looks for a GPS receiver connected to our display harness. Once you hit yes, another dialog box will appear saying that it is searching. Once it's complete its searching procedure, generic GPS should show up on the list. If it does not, please refer back to your installation instructions for your specific GPS receiver and display message setup. Once you have generic GPS on the list and your icon is still red, we now need to dig a little deeper and get into the diagnostics of GPS. In order to do that, we need to exit out of our serial devices by pressing on the back arrow in the upper right-hand corner of our serial devices page. Once we've backed out, we then again need to pan or scroll over and find our icon that says GPS. Once you select the GPS icon, it brings up a GPS General Settings window. The very last line item on that window is the Messages line. Make sure that you are getting the proper messages. For example, GGA should be on the list and either at 5 or 10 Hertz. VTG should have 5 or 10 Hertz. And either RMC or ZDA, depending on your receiver, should be on the list as well at 1, 5, or 10 Hertz. If one of those is missing, we need to again refer back to our installation instructions for our specific GPS receiver and make sure that those settings are correct and turned on. Another way to tell whether you're getting the correct messages or not is whether the message is in blue or red. As in the picture, it is in blue because we are getting the correct messages. However, both RMC and ZDA are in red, outputting 0 hertz. You can see our other messages are correct, but our RMC and ZDA is 0, so it will not recognize that GPS receiver. If that is the case, again, please refer back to your specific GPS receiver setup instructions and cabling connections to make sure that those are set up correctly, and then go through the same serial device lookup and settings to make sure that the Viper 4 sees the GPS receiver. Once we have got a green icon, as we talked about at the beginning, on our home screen of the Viper 4, you are ready to go. If we've gone through and validated our settings, our connections, and all of our installation steps have been followed and checked over again and still have issues receiving, or Viper 4 does not recognize your GPS receiver, please contact the Kinze Service Department.